Hi, everyone. Welcome to STEAM for Tweens. I'm Miss Chris here at your Warrington Library. Today, we are going to talk about the layers of the ocean, ocean density, and the animals that live in the different layers of the ocean. We will be focusing on the S in STEAM as we conduct a science experiment, learning about density of liquids, as well as learning about the different layers of the ocean and the animals that live in each layer. If you picked up your supplies here at the library, you'll have everything you need for this activity except for 2.5 ounces of water. If you are gathering your supplies from home, you'll need 2.5 ounces of water, 2.5 ounces of vegetable oil, 2.5 ounces of either corn syrup or molasses, some food coloring, a clear container, a bead, a button, a toothpick, and a paper clip. You'll probably want to conduct this experiment at your kitchen counter and have some paper towels nearby in case of any spills. Let's get started by talking about science experiments. A science experiment is one way to answer a question. Today, our science experiment will answer the question, what happens when we pour liquids of different densities into the same container? This is the simplest type of science experiment where we are watching a phenomena, which is an event that is observed. To begin with, grab your supply bag, take out the empty container we included in your bag, and there'll be small containers like these with vegetable oil and corn syrup. You'll also need that 2.5 ounces of water from your faucet at home at this time. So go ahead and gather your 3 different liquids. And if you picked up your supplies here from the library, we already put food coloring in your liquids. If you are working with your own supplies from home, you can add some food coloring to the water and to the corn syrup. I added 1 drop of red food coloring to my water and 1 drop of green to my corn syrup. We aren't adding any food coloring to the vegetable oil because it won't mix into the vegetable oil. And it's okay if you don't have the same colors of food coloring as I do, or if you use different colors, or if you don't use food coloring at all. I just chose these colors because I think it will make it easier for us to see what's going on in our container for the second part of our science experiment. So let's go ahead and get started. Once you've colored your liquids, we are going to pour each one into our clear container. If you have a funnel at home, you can use that to neatly pour each liquid into the clear container, or you can just pour it in carefully and slowly so you don't spill any on the outside of the container. As we are adding each liquid, we can try to guess what's going to happen. Will all the liquids mix together? Will the red and green food coloring mix to make a yellow color? Will we be able to see 3 different layers? Or will we only see 2 layers? So here we go. I'm going to add the vegetable oil first. I'm adding the water second. And the corn syrup last. If you want to try a different order, go ahead and try that at home. We'll see if you get a different result than I do. That one takes a minute to stop. That corn syrup is pretty thick. Once you pour in all the liquids, go ahead and tightly twist the cap on the bottle. So already we can see what happened to the liquid. Did you get the same result as I did? Can you see all 3 different layers of liquids in your bottle? Do you know why we can see three different layers and why they didn't combine? It is because each of the three liquids has a different density. Different liquids have different densities based on their weight. A cup of oil, for example, will weigh a little less than a cup of syrup. Liquids with the highest density will sink to the bottom of a cup, while liquids with a lower density will rise to the top. In general, density is how many particles are inside each liquid. Density is essentially a measurement of how tightly matter is crammed together. So in our experiment, the vegetable oil has the lightest density, and it is the top layer in our bottle. The water's density is greater than the vegetable oil, so it is our second layer. And then the corn syrup has the greatest density, so it forms the bottom layer of our bottle. Now make sure your cap is on tightly and tip your bottle to the side. And then return it upright. What happens to the liquids? The density hasn't changed, so the liquids will once again separate into three layers. So what does our science experiment have to do with the ocean? Just like our bottle has different layers due to density, the ocean has several different layers of water of different density. There are three main layers in the ocean, which we represent here with our bottle. Here is a picture I made to show you the different layers of the ocean. I'll get that in there for you. The top layer is the surface ocean. This is warm and where a lot of sea life hangs out. The sun lights up this part of the ocean. The surface ocean takes up the top 200 meters of the ocean. In this layer, you can find animals like jellyfish, dolphins, and tuna. The next layer is the Thermocline Ocean. The thermocline is the area of the ocean where the temperature drops rapidly and the density increases quickly. This layer starts at 200 meters and transitions to the deep ocean. The deeper in the thermocline layer you are, the colder it is. In this layer, you can find animals like sea turtles, swordfish, and cat sharks. The last layer is the deep ocean. This is the majority of the ocean, about 90% of it. It varies in depth, but often still has a lot of ocean life living in it. It is cold and dense. It is typically just above freezing. The deep ocean starts at about 1,000 meters deep, but can be deeper than 1,000 meters. In this layer, you can find animals like sea cucumbers, starfish, and anglerfish. So let's go back to our experiment and take this one step further by dropping some household objects of various weights into the liquid. Go ahead and set your cap nearby. Take that off. And we're going to try and guess where we think the objects will settle. So back to your supply bag, we included a small bag with a craft bead, a button, half of a toothpick, and a paper clip. If you are gathering supplies at home, you can look for these items or find similar items that are small enough to fit in your bottle, like a coin, a bottle cap, a piece of popcorn, a grape, or a metal nut or screw. Just check with an adult at home to make sure it's okay to use the items that you find. So let's see what happens when we drop in some of our objects. You can try dropping them in the provided objects in any order you would like, but I'm going to start with the paper clip since it's the biggest item. There's my paper clip. What layer do you think the paper clip will settle on? Next, I'm going to try the bead. My bead. See that? Next, I'm going to try my button. See that? And then finally, I'm going to try half of a toothpick, which we just cut these in half so it would fit in our bottles easier. So what do you see? I'm going to go ahead and put my cap back on so I can pick this up to look at it. I don't know if you can see it on mine, but look at yours at home. And in mine, it looks like the paper clip settled on the bottom. The button settled on the top layer of the corn syrup. The bead settled on top of the water, and the toothpick settled on top of the vegetable oil. In this experiment with our objects, we discovered denser objects will fall further down the layers of liquids, while less dense objects will stop somewhere along the way. This is a great example to compare the density of a solid, our objects, to the density of our liquids in the bottle. The paperclip's density was greater than the density of the corn syrup, so it settled on the bottom. The button's density was greater than the density of the water, but not greater than the density of the corn syrup, so it settled on top of the corn syrup. The bead's density was greater than the vegetable oil, but not greater than the water, so it settled on top of the water. And the toothpick's density was less than the vegetable oil, so it settled on top of the vegetable oil. If you enjoyed this experiment and learning more about the layers of the ocean, stop by your local library and check out books like these that have more information about the oceans, ocean life, and even more experiments that you can try at home that will help you learn about the different properties of the ocean. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you had a good time experimenting with the density of liquids and solids and learning about the layers of the ocean. Watch for more STEAM for Tween programs this summer as part of our summer reading program, Oceans of Possibilities. Thanks. Bye-bye.